Welcome, Marc, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Carnal this new album, Involvement in Decay, and on Decay, or in more things related to the metal world. So we start by asking, so how was the band been during the last 4 years? Because your last album, Album Veneration, released in 2019. Now we have your third album through Testimony Records.
So you're asking how the past 4 years have been?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no surprise for anyone. COVID was a very weird time for all of us. We had actually 2019, the second album came out, and we had actually started to write the follow-up to that. Fairly straight after that, and we were actually planning on recording the album in 2020. That was actually the plan. We had some concerts set up, but then the first concerts started getting canceled, and at that point we were thinking, oh, this is not going to take that long. And we thought, all right, let's because friends of ours, Gravehammer, the band, they asked us if we wanted to record a split with them, and Corona just started, and we thought it would be over in a few months, so we decided to record an EP and a split, thinking, all right, this is not going to take so long. And did we find out that it did take quite a while? So it was quite weird, and then we couldn't record at some points because of the lockdowns, and so everything kind of got mixed up. The priorities got mixed up, and then so we started recording the album a bit later than we had originally planned. But I mean, now it's out, so the past 4 years have been weird, but I have the feeling that we're picking off there where we had actually planned to be 1 or 2 years ago, if it hadn't been for Corona.
Okay, interesting story to see. Fun to see. So, well, this is your second album with Testimony Records, and your previous album, Album Veneration, was released through them. So now, I remember when I knew the band with your first album, Rotten Remains, when you released through Memento Mori from Spain. So we're talking about this aspect. How was the enter to Testimony Records and to get out from the Memento Mori at that time?
It was always planned to only do one album with Memento Mori. I don't know if Raul, the guy from the label, still does that, but at the time he always said he's only doing one album per band, and so that was kind of set in stone anyway. And we were looking for a label after that, and Dennis, who founded Testimony Records originally, he approached us, and at the time that was the right decision for us, and we signed a deal with Testimony Records, and we are fulfilling that deal, and which we signed with them, and at the moment they're doing a pretty good job of promoting the album and getting it out to everyone that wants to listen to it. So yeah, that's fairly simple, I would say, how that got to be. It was it was very unromantic.
Okay. Oh, I understood. But other details, and I think this is new. This new is very new, very new, because Testimony announced that they will close their doors, or they will close their activities as a label. Testimony Records 5 years ago, the label started with career, etc., and more things into the metal world. But now they decide to close the label. So how this close the label affected the band? Perhaps, well, obviously in the promotion thing, and obviously for the next album.
What do you mean by the label closing? Because
Testimony about I think this is very close news, that very new news, because I received an email that the Testimony will close the activities in general.
I think you have maybe something misunderstood there,
Okay.
because Testimony Records was founded by Dennis, and the label basically has a new owner. So he's not Dennis is not
Oh, okay,
the
okay,
owner of
well, okay, okay.
Testimony Records anymore. So he's closing all his activities, but Testimony Records is part of the Speaker Group,
Oh, ah, okay.
which is you will probably know Prophecy Productions from
Ah, okay.
Germany.
Yes, 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 yes. I
Yeah,
know them.
so that's it's part of that group now, and they are of course continuing with all activity. But Dennis, the original founder of Testimony Records, he's no longer a part of Testimony and closing all activity.
Ah, okay, okay. I misunderstood that new. Well, I saw all. Well, interesting to know this new. Well, with this aspect, how do you see this union with Testimony Records with Prophecy Records? Because Prophecy Records is a big label in Germany, especially has a huge names, Arcturus, Satyricon, a lot of bands are releasing all and new material through them. Even Saturnus released a few months ago their stunning new album. So how for you how you is this union of Prophecy and Testimonials will give the opportunity in the for the obviously for Carnal Tomb.
Well, as you said, it's there's a um, bigger back end to the label, so there's definitely a lot more happening. Yeah, they're very professional about their work. It's very structurized. There are a lot of processes, so they know what they're doing, and that's great to be a part of, because obviously, we as a band, we there's the connection you have with the label. It has a point. You have to, if you have a label, it's good to have a label that promotes your work, that takes some part of the work off your hands, and that they do their job properly. And as you said, it's a big label. They've worked with some great bands. They are continuing to put out good music. So yeah, this is definitely something that we can feel through the work, through their work, that they're doing a good job, and it's nice to have that support from the label.
Okay, okay. Well, 4 years pass. Yes, 4 years pass from the last album, Abhorrent Veneration. Now we have this Embalming in the Cave as a new presentation of the band. And obviously, for me as a reviewer or interviewer, I did know a lot of stuff from the old days, 90s, etc. But for you, what is the main difference that already exists compared to the previous album, Abhorrent Veneration, and with this new one?
The main differences, I think, for me personally, I think every album, every release that we did, but especially every album, has been one step further in our finding our own sound. So I think we've definitely evolved, and something that should be or that every listener, everyone should see directly, is the songs. They have gotten a bit shorter. This is something we tried on the second album, that we were happy with at the time, but for us it was, we wanted to make everything a bit more compact and hard hitting. We also picked up some speed. I think the second album was very doomy. Um, uh, yeah, just a lot of doom influence in there, and this is something we liked at the time, but we wanted to go in a different direction. And I think what we did now is, I think it's a Carnal Tomb record. If that, yeah, I think we're slowly but steadily defining our own sound, and trying to, and I think this is the record where we've definitely done this the best, because I'm seeing this a lot of in reviews as well. We're really trying to, not just be an old school death metal band. There's also a lot of different, and a lot of other different influences in there. There's because we don't, I mean, of course we all love death metal, but we also listen to other genres genres of metal or genres of music, especially. And this is for us, it's not just an old school, hymn, but it's there's new stuff being incorporated in there without being a technical death metal band or without being a progressive metal band. It's our take. We're trying to infuse everything how we like it, and I think this is something that we did on this album a lot better than on the second record.
Okay, okay. Well, talking about now from the covers art in general from the Carnal Tomb, inside the covers art, I see a progress of colors. I mean, because the first one is more black and white, then the second one has more colors, in the presentation. But with this new one, you decide to put more colors into there, especially very luminity colors into this aspect. So, what do you can we take that this progression of the cover arts is like a normal evolution, or perhaps in the past when you create the cover arts with the artist, perhaps do you think in mind have we need to grow up putting much color in each one?
No, I wouldn't say that that the goal was to have more colors. It was just something that that came to be because it was more of we knew for every record, or I knew what I wanted to say with the cover, or what I wanted to have in the cover, which themes, how it would look like. And I like black and white artworks. I mean, we still have it on shirts. We did it on our Festering Presence EP, but I think there's just a bit more to find out, a bit more to discover for everyone looking at the cover. And it's a bit nicer, especially if you have a vinyl in your hand, with the big artwork. And I think Scott Valdua, the artist who did the artwork, he did a brilliant job, and he incorporated a lot of small details, and that's just how it came to be. It's not, but it wasn't a decision in that sense that we wanted to have more colors. We're already working on the cover for the next record or the next releases, and I can tell you that it won't be as many colors. It will still be something colorful, but not as many as this one. But this was just something that happened, but I think it still fits the music, it fits the title, it fits the theme that's going on there. There's a lot of stuff going on in the record, and I think there's a lot of stuff going on in the artwork. So I think that parallel, that fits, in my opinion.
Mm. Well, okay, okay. Well, other thing that I saw in your discography is that you always it's more like the always you release an EP, then an album, or first an album and then an EP, or now an EP and then an album. So this is like this can we take as a tradition in the band, EP, album, or on vice versa.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it's not something, again, not something that is that was planned right at the beginning. I think that it's just how it happened, because of course that shouldn't come to a surprise to anyone. Most the things that work best for bands is usually an album, and so we're always working to the next album. But for me, personally, I always want to try some things between the album before going, before putting all the work into another album. I want to try out some things with an EP. And like I said earlier, we actually wanted to put out an album straight after Abhorrent Veneration, but because Corona came and we thought, okay, let's quickly do this before we get onto the album. That was the why we did the EP before the album. And then the world went to shit during Corona, and then everything took longer than expected. The same thing with our Descent EP that we didn't have that plan. That was an opportunity we had where we were able to record with a friend of ours, and that was more something. Okay, we have an opportunity to record something here. It's not going that we hadn't planned, and then we just said, all right, let's record some stuff because we have the opportunity to do so. And that's probably what we're going to do after this album as well, because I want to try out some different recording styles, some different sounds for the next release we're going to do. And I believe we're going to do that before we release another album. But I hope it won't take another 4 years.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, other aspects that I didn't know especially for the band in their history is that the next year you will accomplish 10 years of existence because the band was formed in 2014. Now the first 10 years will be next year. So perhaps you will, as you mentioned, perhaps you will have a cover art for the next one, or perhaps for the next production. Perhaps this cover this these 10 years will accompany with something more bigger, perhaps a DVD, perhaps a video, or who knows? What kind of plans do you have for the 10 years of the band, for the first 10 years?
Yeah. We actually have something planned for that. We did a live recording session last year, so
Okay.
yeah, that's a great teaser, I guess. We did a live recording session when we were on tour with Teratoma this year, and we're planning to have so basically, yeah, our live set, which we recorded live, to release that for the anniversary, and of course do a hopefully a big anniversary 10-year anniversary show in our hometown. Yeah, so that's something that's planned for that. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll have a recording for that, a video recording, or maybe we will record that show and then release that afterwards. Who knows?
Okay, okay. Well, we are very close to this interview, Mark, and for this aspect, what kind of plans do you have for this involvement in the car? Perhaps you will embark tours in US, Europe, or who knows, first steps here in Latin America. Who knows?
Yeah, we are actually we're at the moment we're planning some concerts in within Germany. We've got some stuff planned for early next year. Finland, Belgium, so across Europe, a couple of dates. No big tour at the moment, but we'll see. Maybe that will happen next year in the fall. And we're already in contact with a good friend of ours, Victor from Escarnium. I don't know if you know him.
Okay.
Also a testimony band. He did our first tour, Speed Freak bookings. We are actually looking into it to actually come to South America, hopefully in 2024. And I think if that doesn't happen, 2025 is a good shot. So maybe within the next 1.5 years, we can definitely make it to South America. That's one of our big goals. I hope it will be possible.
Okay, okay. Well, as I mentioned in the first question, talking about all the kind of aspects into the music or extreme metal, as well as one thing that I remember about the 90s is when you get into the band, is like demos with the tapes aspects at that time. Now, when I spoke with a lot of artists, especially with the well-known artists or minor artists, etc., so they told me that the demo era disappeared completely of the world because the demo era is not like the 90s when you present the art to the label and the label said, "Hey, I like your demo," and we signed for the first album, second album, etc., etc. Now the labels prefers to hear completely the full album to see if they want to release through them. So, what's your opinion about now? The all this disappears now, and the bands no needs anymore to create a demo, and just the demo is for a nostalgic situations, not like anymore like the 80s or 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think demos are a thing of the past, mainly because it is much easier to produce something that sounds a bit better than a demo, because it's I think it's just easier than in the past, where it was much more complicated. It was much more expensive to record something, and now you can just plug your guitar into a computer put a drum computer over it, and then you have something. Of course, there are differences, but if you have the right tools, if you know someone or if you know it yourself, you can produce something that sounds quite good in your bedroom. And I think because that standard of quality is because it's so much easier to produce something that sounds a bit better. Of course, that goes up for everyone, and then if you were to record a demo like it sounded in the early 90s, people would ask you, why are you doing this? Why are you not, doing a proper recording? And of course, I mean, there are still bands releasing some demos. Some demos sound like an album. Some albums sound like a demo. So I think it's more of a matter of what the band is trying to do. For us, 10 years ago, we released our first demo because we didn't have the equipment that was needed. We thought that this was the best we could do at the time, but we didn't think it was worthy of labeling it as an EP or something like that, because we were just starting off. I think the standard of work being put out has just gotten higher. So I think demos are more a thing of the past, and I can definitely say that most people want to hear an EP, if not an album, before anything happens.
Yes, yes, yes. And with this answer that you gave me, what's your opinion about now? The people are more focused with the singles. Well, we return them on time because, as you remember, the singles are in the 40s and the 30s, 40s, and 50s. That's the way that they spread the music at that time. Now we return to that era, and now the people just, especially for the new, especially for the digital platforms, the people prefers to hear singles. And obviously, you are a new band, 10 years of existence compared to the old bands from the 80s or 90s. So, what's your opinion? What motivates you to create an album in times that they prefer just singles, especially for the digital platforms?
That's a very good question. That's something I've been discussing with people in my private life as well, because the concept album is something, like you said, it's outdated, especially in other genres of music. I think rock music in general, and especially metal, it's still it's still there, but it's also beginning to dwindle there. I know I see it that some bands, they keep on releasing digital singles, and it's, of course, it's a way to stay stay with the fans. There's always something new, there's always some sort of interaction. But for me personally, it's because I and the rest of the band, I would say that we are more of album listeners. I personally like, I like the format album. It's just it reflects the way I listen to music as well, because I'm not much of a. Of course, I use streaming, I use Spotify. I like discovering new bands. That's all cool. But usually, when I listen to music, I listen to an album, or at least half an album. It's not that I have big playlists and just listen to one song by one band. So I think we're a bit stuck. We are personally a bit stuck there, and we're going to keep doing it because that's the way we listen to music as well. And I have the impression, of course, it always takes a bit of time, to create a new album, and people might forget about you in the meantime. But when it's released, it's always a bit more interesting to hear a whole album, and people, because we can see it when we're just releasing EPs. Of course, people listen to that and buy that, but there's much more interest for when we release an album than an EP or split or whatever. So I think in metal in general, the concept of an album is still fairly strong, and I think it's going to stay fairly strong. Of course, there are different movements, and it depends on the genre, but I think the album in general will stay.
Okay. Well, Marc, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. This new album is a piece. Congratulations on it. And perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metallarium followers?
Well, thank you first of all to you for the interview. I hope you enjoy the album. I hope you enjoy our next releases as well. Thank you for the support. Thank you to everyone listening to the Metallarium webzine, and we hope to see some of you soon. If not, download our music, stream our music, get our stuff, support metal in general, support the bands you like, have fun, and cheers to all of you.